Okay, members, we're going to move on now to first application, LE11 bar 2023 bar 1666 bar F, and it's commercial, change of use commercial units to ground floor apartments at.
Chair, Councillor Boyle again for the proceedings, Chair, but I also will have to declare an interest in items number 5 and 6.
That's in order. Thanks, Councillor Boyle.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, so application number 1, and James is going to take us through it.
Good afternoon, members. First item on the agenda is item 1, LE11 2023-1666F, and that's an application for the corner of Bridge Street and Main Street in Strabane. The application was for a proposed change of use from 2 commercial units at ground floor to 2 apartments, both of which are accessed off Bridge Street. The application was previously on schedule, presented to the Planning Committee on 8th of May 2024, and it was for a proposed change of use from 3 commercial units to 3 apartments. Late item was submitted to the officers on the 2nd of May from the applicant agent with an amended P1 form and amended plans. Officers advised members the later information need to be considered and any relevant consultees consulted. The application was subsequently deferred. During the course of the application, then, the reconsideration, the agent submitted a flood risk assessment and a daylight analysis assessment. Therefore, the current proposal before you is a proposed change use from 2 commercial units at ground floor to 2 apartments. And the application has been re-advertised, re-notified, and consultees be consulted on the additional information submitted. That's the application site there at the corner of Bridge Street and Main Street. Officers' initial concerns were the loss of the retail frontage all around at that point. And the building itself is this fairly recently constructed building that has apartments on the upper floors. I say the now vacant retail units on the ground floor. And that's just the site in context with an aerial view. There is a site just behind that hasn't been developed yet. The proposed layout now would retain the original retail unit, which is there in the light shaded blue on the right. And the 2 apartment units then will be accessed off the one entrance at Bridge Street. One of the apartments will be a 1-bedroom, which you can see in the slightly pink wash. And to the left of that would be a 2-bedroom apartment. In terms of any elevational changes, the existing elevations are shown there. There would be a slight amendment then on the left-hand side where the openings for the retail units will be closed up and replaced then with windows, which will be 2 of which will be used for the 1-bedroom apartment, and the window on the far left then will be for the kitchen living area of the 2-bedroom apartment. The application drew a total of 2 letters of objection for the original proposal. Once re-advertised, a further 2 representations were received for essentially the same issues, which would be the loss of commercial frontage and ongoing antisocial issues with existing flats. In terms of the loss of the frontage, whilst we had initial concerns losing all of the retail frontage, the application as it stands now will retain a shop unit to the Main Street, which is the acknowledged retail area. As you come then around the corner, it is a slightly different feel on the street in terms of Bridge Street, so therefore we're content that the retailing aspect will be retained onto the Main Street, and we're content that the use of the apartments onto Bridge Street would be acceptable. In terms of the antisocial issues with existing flats, tidiness, the frontage of the building, these issues do fall within the remits of the owner occupier of the building, and they wouldn't be given determinant weight when we're coming to recommendation on the application. In terms of consultation replies, Environmental Health Service are generally content. DFI Roads have advised on parking requirements and that a final service management plan will be required. Council will not be asking for parking on this given the nature of the application, the scale of it and where it's located. And we're content that there is enough available parking car parks in the area. Any water have advised that they consider the application should be refused as an assessment has indicated network capacity issues. As you're well aware, this is an ongoing issue throughout the whole of the district. However, on the consideration of the proposal, it was felt that there was existing water provision required for the existing retail units, and therefore the offset between that and 2 apartment units wouldn't be considered as a significant intensification, and therefore we're content to recommend approval on that aspect. DFI Rivers are content with the submitted flood risk assessment and any of the mitigation measures proposed within it. So the application has been considered against the Strabane area plan and has also been looked at with a view to the new LDP, and there's been no issues raised on that. The SPPS we would be content with, and therefore our policies on PPS 3 in terms of the roads, access, parking, etc. We're content with that. There was no issue over PPS 6, which is the planning archaeology, as there's a list of buildings just within sight of the development. However, this wouldn't be affected by the application. We're content that it meets PPS 7, quality residential environments, and through the submission of the FRA, PPS 15 has now been met. So therefore, the proposal is considered acceptable and is in accordance with relevant planning policies and all material considerations, including the representations. Overall, the material consideration support and approval of the application, therefore recommend that the Council's Planning Committee approve plan permission for the application for development, subject to the conditions set out in the report. Thank you.
Thank you for that, James. We have Evan Rorty, another city, on behalf of the agent. If Evan would like to come forward now to speak to you. Hello, Evan, you're welcome to the chamber today. You have 5 minutes to address the committee. And shortly before that time's up, I'll give you a shout and ask you to wrap up. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Chair and Councillors, for the opportunity to address the Planning Committee on this application. I have read the Planning Committee report prepared by James and agree with its findings and would ask you to support the recommendation to approve. I am mainly here on behalf of the applicant to answer any questions you may have. This amended scheme retains a commercial unit on the ground floor that fronts onto the main street. The 2 commercial units front Bridge Street are empty, and this proposal revitalises this frontage along one of the busiest traffic routes into the town. The applicant is happy to agree with the conditions proposed in the report, and I would therefore, on behalf of our client, respectfully request that the councillors accept the case officer's recommendation and approve this planning application. Thank you.
Thank you, Evan. As any members, any questions for Evan, please? Councillor Gallagher.
To see this the new construct build, 5 units on the bottom. Was them 5 units fully completed during this new construction? I.e., would they be ready for occupancy, or if there was potential retail?
There was potential retail, did you say? Sorry. I'm not sure. I don't think so. I know the applicant has had the buildings for quite a while, and they say they have had no interest in getting the people into the buildings that they could have. So that's why they're applying for residential now for the 2 units on Bridge Street.
Does that answer your query, Councillor Gallagher?
Like, I'm a resident of Strabane, right? And I've seen these empty for a long time, all 5 units. And it doesn't look to me like there was ever attempt, to complete the units themselves. They're lying, if I was a retailer and looking to rent one of those units, it would take a lot of work to bring it to prepare for occupation.
Anybody else in chamber or anybody online? Has any questions for Evan, please? Can't see anybody else even, so
Chair.
thank you. Councillor Gallagher or Councillor Boyle, sorry.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Just in relation to, I would have thought, and I'm no expert, but I would have thought if there were retailers that had been interested in these units or that they thought they would be useful for them, that there would have they'd have shown some interest, and then, and this is where my expertise ends really. But I imagine that if you're acquiring or renting a unit, then you as the retailer are responsible for the fit out of the unit and yourself. And so, given what Councillor Gallagher has just said, that they have sat empty for a considerable length of time, then it's understandable perhaps that the applicant is looking to reuse them in this manner, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Boyle. Is that a question, Davin, or just a comment from yourself?
It's merely it's merely a comment, really, Chair. I mean, it's just something for us to consider, I think.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Boyle. Thank you, Evan, for attending. Okay, members, has anybody any questions for any of the officers here with regards to this one? Anybody online, any questions for officers? I can't see anybody indicating to speak. So, members, there we have a recommendation to approve this one. So, if I may put it forward to yourselves there for any comments or proposals. Councillor Jackson.
Chair, and this application was presented to the committee before. There was concerns raised. The concerns have now been addressed as part of this new application, and on that basis, I have absolutely no issue proposing that we accept the officer's recommendation. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Can I have a seconder for that proposal, please? Councillor Devine, thank you. Any members wish to make any other comments on this? We have a proposal and a seconder here in front of us. Can I take it that it's unanimous, or does anybody want to raise? Councillor Gallagher, go ahead.
I'll abstain, Chair.
Members, we will go for a vote on this one, please.
Okay, members, this is a vote on plan and application LA 11 2023 166, and Alderman Keith Kerrigan.
For Suzanne.
Alderman Neri McMorris. Not here. Alderman Janice Montgomery.
For.
Councillor John Boyle.
Or
Councillor Caroline Devine.
Ta.
Councillor Sean Fleming.
Ta.
Councillor Paul Gallagher.
Abstain.
Councillor Christopher Jackson.
Councillor
Fergal Leonard.
Ta.
Councillor Patricia Logue.
For.
Councillor Sean Mooney.
or
Councillor Patrick Murphy.
Ta.
Councillor Martin Riley.
For.
Councillor Grace O'Neillis.
Okay, members, that's 12 for and 1 abstention. So the officer's recommendation for approval has gone through. Okay, then we'll move on to number 2, and this is 89 Lisnara Road. And Andre has taken us through this one. Thank you. Andre, I'll just come in there. We might just remind you, members, just there's 2 items of late information, and it will take a minute or 2 before Andre starts on this one. You'd have got email there from Anne showing a letter from Seamus Keeney, and also email correspondence from Diana McCross and Emily, if you want to take a month or 2 to look at that. Okay, members, you sufficient time to read over them. Couple of late items received on this one. Okay, Mary, thank you.
Okay, thank you. This application is LA 11 2024 04870, and it's a proposed site for 2 replacement dwellings and 2 garages. It lands approximately 320 metres north-northeast of 89 Lisnara Road, Donamana, Strabane, and the recommendation is to refuse. So this application was previously presented to Planning Committee on the 22nd of January and was deferred for a site visit, and this took place on the 17th of February. There were a number of members attended the site visits with planning officers. A late representation was submitted to Council on the 3rd of February via the agent, and that's been circulated to members. And there's also been a further representation just received earlier today. That'll be covered later in the presentation. So this is the site location plan with the site outlined in red. It's a cutout of a larger field, which is outlined there in blue. And just a photograph of the application site taken from Lisnara Road, and further photographs taken of the buildings on the site taken from internal on the field. So one of the late items that has been sent to these members was a letter submitted from a neighbour to the application site, and part of that is copied below. So they state that the house was originally semi-detached with 2 entrance doors and 2 separate living accommodations. So when the previous family that lived in the property rented the premises, the sleeping accommodation was inadequate for 9 people. So they were allowed to break through an upstairs wall and replace it with a doorway, which gave them 4 upstairs bedrooms, access from the stairway in their side of the building. That's just an extract from the representation that was received. So members, earlier today, a further late item has been received from Daniel McCrossan, MLA, and the letter states, "I'm convinced by the arguments made by Mr. Rogers' agent that historically there were 2 dwellings on the site. He states that 2 chimneys and a heavy subdividing wall points towards the fact that the structure was erected as 2 separate dwelling units. He has also provided photos that show these buildings are substantially intact. I would be grateful if members are made aware of my views on this matter." So members, as it stands today, officers consider the remaining built form is considered contrary to CTY3, given as a minimum all external walls are not substantially intact. The smaller portion of the built form is considered an ancillary outbuilding, and there is no internal linkage, and this therefore would not be eligible for replacement as a dwelling. So the policy context is listed there, the RDS, the Strabane Area Plan, the SPPS, and planning policy statements 2, 3, 15 and 21, and planning guidance there, building on traditional sustainable guide 2 for the Northern Ireland countryside. We consulted with DFI Roads, Environmental Health, NI Water, NIEA and SES during the processing of the application, and none of the consultees have raised any concerns. So the main policy consideration is CTY3 of PPS 21, which deals with replacement dwellings. And that states that planning permission will be granted for a replacement dwelling where the building to be replaced exhibits the essential characteristics of a dwelling, and as a minimum, all external structural walls are substantially intact. Buildings designed and used for agricultural purposes, such as sheds or stores, and buildings of a temporary construction will not be eligible for replacement under this policy. So I've just attached here, members, some further photographs that show the buildings on the site. You can see from this angle, the external walls are substantially demolished there, or not in existence anymore, not evident. And again, just this taken from the back of the site towards Lisnara Road. So with regards to the essential characteristics, there is an internal chimney stack that's been noted within the eastern portion. There is a variation in scale of the remaining built form, and that's considered to reflect the difference between what was formerly a dwelling and the ancillary adjoining building, or outbuilding. The positioning and style of the openings are considered to further support that there was potentially a dwelling and one outbuilding on the site. So there's more photographs there, but officers consider that the proposal is contrary to the policy given the lack of one gable and only partial remnants to the front and rear elevations of the building. So CTY3, basically the policy states that the proposed replacement dwelling should be sited within the established curtilage of the existing building, unless it's so restricted that it couldn't reasonably accommodate a modest-sized dwelling, or can be shown the alternative position nearby would result in demonstrable landscape heritage access or amenity benefits. The overall size of the new dwelling should allow it to integrate into the surrounding landscape. The design of the replacement dwelling should be of high quality. All necessary services should be available or can be provided without significant impact on the environment or character, and access to the public road will not prejudice road safety. So in officer's opinion, there is no evidence on the ground or on spatial maps of any defined curtilage of the building. There are partial remains of a low wall within the site. As this is an outline application, no details have been provided with regards to the design scale and location of the proposed dwellings and garages, other than just the two large sites indicated on the submitted site location plan, which extend beyond the built form and into the surrounding agricultural field. Given the extent of the two sites and the lack of any defined boundary or vegetation, to aid integration, it is considered that the proposed development will not integrate satisfactorily and will be detrimental to the rural character. It is also considered that a pair of dwellings and garages would appear as prominent features in the landscape, would not integrate, and would have a visual impact significantly greater than the existing building, resulting in a suburban style build-up of development. And therefore officers consider the proposal as contrary to CTY 1, CTY 3, 13 and 14 of PPS 21. So therefore officers consider that there's evidence that there was one dwelling on the site with an associated outbuilding. However, the buildings to be replaced are not considered to have all remaining walls substantially intact. The site is unable to provide a suitable degree of enclosure to visually integrate the proposed development into the surrounding landscape, and the scale of the built form is considered detrimental to the visual amenity and rural character of the Sperrins AONB. So therefore, the proposal is contrary to C2A1, 3, 13 and 14, and the refusal reasons as recommended are on the screen there and are detailed in the planning officer's report. Thank you, members.
Okay, thank you for that. We have Billy Rogers, the applicant, and Andy Tate with us today. Gents, if you'd like to come forward. Okay, gents, you are welcome to the chamber today. I don't know if it's just one of you or two of you are speaking, but
Two it was
two of
speaking.
you. So between you, you'll have 5 minutes to,
All right, no problem.
and I'll give you a shout just before the 5 minutes or so.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity to speak today. As you're aware, I've previously discussed and done a presentation at the January meeting in support of this application. Since then, we have been in touch with a few neighbours adjacent to these properties. The first neighbour we approached was Mr. Patsy Kelly. Mr. Kelly, a former SDLP councillor, confirmed to my client that his mother lived 300 metres away from these properties and that two families resided in these two dwellings in the early 1940s. The second one, as you've seen the letter, is Mr. Seamus Kearney. Mr. Kearney sent my client a letter in early February, which I submitted to the planning office. An extract from the letter, supporting one, which says the house was originally semi-detached, two entrance doors and two separate living accommodations. When the Burns family rented the premises, the sleeping accommodation was inadequate for 9 people, so they're allowed to break through or replace it with a doorway, which gave them 4 upstairs bedrooms and access to stairway in the side of the building. As previously stated at the last meeting, we strongly feel this application meets the planning policy, and as you can see from the plan I submitted as a late item at the last meeting, the 4 walls that we consider are substantially intact, and there's a chimney and there's an outline of a chimney in the 2 dwellings. So Mr. Rogers is going to say a few words here.
Billy, thank you for the opportunity.
Just come on ahead over, Mr. Rogers, thank you.
To everyone, thank you again for the opportunity to speak. Regarding the 2 derelict houses on Star Road, Donamana, and the townland of Killiney, I can confirm that Packy Murray and family lived there in the early 60s. When I was at school, I spoke to a member of the Murray family recently, and when asked, he informed me that there were 12 in his family, including his parents. Thus, that is the reason the 2 houses were being used for one family at that stage, but there'd been 2 houses prior to. So, thank you.
Okay, thanks, gents. You can just stay where you are there. Okay, members, does anybody any questions for either Andy or Billy, please? Is there anybody online that has any questions for applicant or the agent? Councillor Gallagher.
Thank you. Just, you were saying in the 60s there was 2 houses or people living in it. Are you aware that was there any construction took place afterwards to make one of those properties like into an outbuilding for animals?
Not after, but back in them days, there probably was an outbuilding at some point. They house animals, and that's the bit that we consider that was not, no, it's demolished. The wall stays there. We consider that the 2 buildings there are standing as per that plan that I sent in the last meeting.
Thanks for that. Alderman Kerrigan.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in. Just in regards to there's refusal reasons here, and that's Andy. And again, I was looking through the old ordnance survey maps on that site, and I was looking at which one was that? 1916 to 1957. There does appear to be, you can see the site over the years there, and you can see there didn't seem to be anything in the 1829 one, but coming forward, there has been structures on that site. There seemed to be a definite second building further closer towards Dunnamana at that stage, and I know we're dealing with what we have currently there. So I have no doubt in regards to the letters and the applications, or sorry, the letters there, the late information that's come in there in regards to that there were two families within the one dwelling house there. It was two separate front doors there. And in relation to that, was there ever, in your knowledge, was there ever a separate dwelling on that site, or was it effectively that the two dwellings were in this current structure that remains? As well as that, we do have issues there which have been raised in regards to your third and fourth refusal reasons about have a greater visual impact. Now, and again, it wouldn't integrate and it would be unduly prominent in the landscape. Now, I'm just wondering your thoughts in relation to that. I know that road coming from the Plumbridge side, and you're kind of coming up over a crest, and there's a bit of a rise there. I mean, where I'm coming from, if you were granted a permission, and again, I do know this is an outline plan of permission, do you have issues with the size or scale of dwelling that you are seeking on this? Or I know it's just initially it's planning for two dwellings, but I'm just wondering about what you're looking for or what you're willing to do in regards to potentially getting approval. Thank you, Chair.
Go ahead on.
Well, the first question, in Mr. Kearney's letter, he states that the houses were semi-detached. So that would show that block on the original ordnance survey map would be two houses under one block. As regards your integration question, we're happy to accept whatever conditions that the planners impose. But if you're on that, if whoever's on the site visit, attended the site visit, you'll see that the buildings are prominent at present from the roadside. But we will be providing a landscape plan to help integrate it and help them lower back from the road.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Chair.
Would like any further questions? No, thanks, gents, to both of you for attending today.
Thank you.
Okay, members, has anybody any questions for Andre on this one? Anybody online? Any questions for Andre? No. Okay, members, there's an application there. The recommendation is to refuse. So if I may hand it over to yourselves there for any further comments, or if anybody wishes to make any proposals on this. Thank you.
Chair.
Alderman Kerrigan.
Thank you. Apologies there, Chair. I was trying to flick between screens and I couldn't get asking the question there to Andre quick enough there. Andre, in regards to it's more, I have a wee question there. Maybe I've missed it when I'm reading through this pack. It's in regards to your second, the second refusal reason there, contrary to CTY3. The structure to be placed on site 1 does not exhibit essential characteristics, and structure does not have on site 2 does not have all external. You know, am I looking at the map correctly and the pack? You know, because I'm sort of the figure that I'm looking at, is that figure 1 is where you're really coming into that in relation to, is that a 1 and a 2 there effectively, which you're stating as the 2 dwelling houses, or which you're classifying as the 2 potential sites? Because I was trying to go through the pack to see, because the majority of the other items, it's just images of the existing structure that's there, and it's just the red squares around the full site there. So I was just I take it assuming it's in that regard there, because if you any of the current structure in your site 1 on this map, or maybe I'm just making it more complicated than it needs to be. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Alderman Kerrigan. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, through the chair. I suppose the site location plan that was submitted with the application site, the site is divided between sites 1 and 2, or they're indicated as sites 1 and 2. So on site 1, the structure that is there, we consider does not exhibit the essential characteristics of a dwelling house. There's no chimneys, whilst that stonework is intact to a degree. It doesn't appear to have been a dwelling. The structure that is remaining on site 2, we consider there is some characteristics of a dwelling house there, in that there's an internal chimney adjacent to the gable of what we assume to be an adjacent outbuilding. But that structure is not substantially intact. So that is another criteria of PPS 21 CTY3, that it exhibits the characteristics of a dwelling house and it has to be substantially intact. So there's a difference there in the two. The way the building is divided, site 1 is not a dwelling house. We don't consider was a dwelling house. And site 2 might have been a dwelling house, but there is very little structure there. It's not substantially intact. Hope that clarifies.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Andrea. I was more so, I suppose, yes, it's in relation to this figure that you currently have there on the screen for the ones here online. I'm assuming they're on the screen there for yourselves in the chamber. In regards to the red box, there's the blue line around the field, and there's the red box, which is sort of has a dotted line, sort of, as far as I can see, near enough through the middle of the existing structure. And that's what I was kind of classifying as site 1 was part of that main existing building that's still there, and site 2 is the other part of it. That's my reading of it, but maybe, as I say, I apologize, I was unavailable for the site minute. I had other things on and couldn't get away, but that's the figure that I'm basing it on then, in regards to figure 1 in our pack, and in regards to the figure that's currently put in. So I was counting that part of the existing main structure that is currently there is in site 1, and part of it is in site 2. And my reading of it, but obviously you're maybe I'm picking that up wrong from what you're stating there, Andre. You're maybe referencing the bit of a wall that's further down. There's one image there. Excuse me. There's an image here in the pack. Item figure 5, perspective towards the building from east, that's referred to. I take it that's it. Whereby, are you classifying that effectively as your site 2 and not the main structure? Whereby figure 1 in the meeting pack, as far as I see, with the little red dotted line in it, kind of splits the existing large building into 2 in my eyes.
Okay, thanks for that, Alderman. Mary, go ahead.
Yes, through the chair. No, I agree with you, Councillor Kerrigan. Sorry if I've confused things. We consider the outbuilding structure to be in site 1, and the remnants of the dwelling to be in site 2. The photograph of the wall there is just what we believe may have been a curtilage of the buildings historically.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Andrew.
Councillor Gallagher.
Thank you. Just, and I don't know, we'll see where we go anyway. But was there any discussion with the applicant that one site might have been better coming in as an outline application regarding, the many outstanding issues with CTY3 that the current one has? Was there any like to and fro engagement of saying what might be better? And I'm not sure if that would compromise the planners or not, like, but some of the evidence submitted that this was a site who was living in. The other four walls are not intact. The other site, so it definitely wasn't ever going to meet. So it might have been better if arguing one, but.
Yeah, through the chair, I'm not aware that there was any negotiation or feedback from the agent. I suppose what we have is the proposal in front of us today, and that hasn't been amended to date.
Okay, members, I am conscious that I had moved on from questions for officers, but happy enough to take them there because we didn't have any proposal at that time. We'll draw that part to conclusion. So members, as I said there a few minutes ago, we have a recommendation for refusal. So I'll hand it over to yourselves if at this stage, if anybody wants to make a proposal on this one.
Chair.
Mr. Fleming.
I'm just happy. I'm willing to propose that we accept the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
We have a proposal there to accept the officer's recommendation. Do we have a seconder for that?
Chair, I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Jackson. Okay, members, I'm going to go to a vote on this one, please.
Okay, members, this is a vote on application number LA11 2024-04870. Alderman Keith Kerrigan.
Against, Suzanne.
Alderman Neri McMorris. It's not here. Alderman Janice Montgomery.
Against.
Councillor John Boyle.
Against.
Councillor Caroline Devine.
I'm going to abstain on this. I missed the beginning of the presentation.
Councillor Sean Fleming.
Ta.
Councillor Paul Gallagher.
If there's anybody online, can you make sure your mic's turned off, please?
Councillor Paul Gallagher.
4.
Councillor Christopher Jackson. Councillor Fergal Leonard. Councillor Patricia Logue.
4.
Councillor Sean Mooney.
4.
Councillor Patrick Murphy.
Ah.
Councillor Martin Riley.
4.
And Councillor Gracie Nealis.
Ta.
Thank you.
So members, that was 9 for, 3 against, and 1 abstention on that one there to accept the officer's recommendation. Okay, members, we're moving on to agenda item or application number 5. This is for Thornhill College. I think maybe we had a member online that declared notice on this one.
Yes, Chair, that's correct. If I could be placed in the lobby for 5 minutes now, please.
I'll try and get you into the lobby now, Councillor Boyle.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Rosie's going to take us through this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, members. Item 5 is LA 11 2023 2262F. And this is a proposal for 7 number semi-independent living units, being a change of house type to Block F and minor alterations to the internal road levels of the retirement development approved under LA 11 2020 0698 RM. The location is at the former Thornhill College on Culmore Road. The recommendation is to approve, and it's before members today as there's a Section 76 agreement. So just by way of background, members, there was an outline application approved under A 2015-00710, was granted by the Planning Committee for a retirement village, which incorporated the retention of the existing buildings at the frontage of the site for community uses, a 65-bed care home and 68 number semi-independent living units in the form of apartments and dwellings. The development was subject to Section 76 legal agreement to secure its use as a retirement village and to ensure that those residing there should be over the age of 55. There was subsequently then a reserved matters approved by the Planning Committee with a slightly reduced level of accommodation, providing a 57-bed care home and 53 semi-independent living units. This overhead aerial view just shows the location of the site, and as you can see, the majority of the school buildings are now removed, and at the roadside is retained the buildings that are intended to be for the community use, and the Block F that we're considering today is located probably in this part of the site. You can see the cursor there. So what's proposed is an amendment to the scale and the design of the units comprising Block F. And the rationale provided by the applicant for this amendment is the overwhelming response from prospective occupants that occupants in the age bracket of 55 probably require a different form of accommodation from certainly older age groups. So the amendments have been made in response to that market demand. Providing a range of living accommodations on one site caters to the varying needs of individuals at different life stages, making the community more vibrant and adaptable. And then in terms of the roads, having cleared the site, it revealed that there was more made ground than was originally anticipated. And this resulted in an amendment to the internal road levels, and DFI Roads is satisfied with those amendments. So this development then will be subject to a Section 76 legal agreement permitting the occupation of persons over 55, their spouses and any dependent children. The layout then of the site is just shown here. This insert in the top corner is the layout that was originally approved under the Reserved Matters application. It just shows a linear block of development. And in the red line here is the development that's proposed under this application. Again, it maintains that linear form of development. This slide just shows the design, front and rear elevations of Block F as was approved at Reserved Matters stage. And this then is the design of the development that is proposed under the current application. This photo montage gives a better view just of what it's proposed that will look like. So there's an increase in the ridge height from 7.5 meters to 9.5 meters. So it's providing a 2.5 story dwellings. There's a stepped ridge line, which breaks up the overall mass of the terrace. The rear garden depths are increased as a result of this development, and there's a change to the material palette so that what's being provided there is a change from stone and wood to a stone and a painted render. Internally then, what's provided is on the ground floor, you have a formal living room with living, kitchen, dining, a utility room and a ground floor shower room. At first floor level, there are 2 bedrooms, a study room and an adaptable bathroom, and then there's accommodation provided in the attic space. So the proposed development will be sited in the same location as was approved at Reserved Matters stage.
And in considering the increase in the height of the units, these are considered acceptable in respect of the wider context of the development as approved on the site. And given the fall in gradient from Culmore Road towards the River Foyle, Block F won't be a prominent feature in the landscape. Also given consideration to the rationale for the change in the accommodation for the 55 age group bracket, officers are also satisfied that the additional internal accommodation, which results in the changes to the external appearance of the block, remains acceptable both in respect of the principle of the development to provide a retirement village and respect of visual impact. It's probably a wee bit small, but it's just a summary of the policy framework that's set out in detail in the planning report and the policies that we've assessed the application against. In summary, the consultees have no objection to the development. Environmental health are recommending conditions. And in conclusion, officers consider that a quality residential environment has been achieved in accordance with PPS 7. Satisfactory infrastructure works are provided in accordance with PPS 3. The impact on listed buildings and archaeology has been assessed in accordance with PPS 6 and found to be acceptable. There's no impact on designated sites, priority habitat or species as a result of the development, so PPS 2 is complied with. Flood risk has been assessed in accordance with PPS 15 and no impacts arise, and so the development is also considered to comply with the SPPS. As agreed today, the application or the development will be subject to Section 76 legal agreement. So officers recommend approval subject to the conditions set out in the planning report. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosie. We have Matthew Crothers with us today as the agent. Well, Matthew, welcome to the Plan Committee today. You have 5 minutes to address the committee, and I'll give you a shout just coming up to that and ask you to wrap up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Chair and members of the Plan Committee, thank you for affording me the opportunity to address you. I'm Matthew Crothers, Chartered Town Planner with Tetra Tech. We represent the applicant for this application. And we're very pleased Council's Planning Department has recommended approval. We'd like to thank Council's planning officers for their efforts in progressing it to a positive recommendation. As has been set out in the presentation there, principal development at this location was previously established under the outline planning permission, subsequent reserved matters approval. The proposed design amendments sought under this application really seek to provide enhancements to Block F and some minor level amendments to the internal roadway approved at reserve matter stage. It doesn't change the dwelling numbers or acceptability of the principle of development at this location. The rationale behind the changes is to provide better range and variety of accommodation for the 55 and over demographic, and these have been driven by a combination of expressions of interest from potential occupants and also in seeking to deliver an improved response to the site topography and maximise the natural features and benefits of the site. Designing for the over 55 demographic requires flexibility, ensuring that homes can adapt to changing needs as residents age. All design changes are in line with lifetime home standards, which allows residents to stay within the development as their needs change over time. Overall, proposals are in line with the outline planning permission and are reflective of and in keeping with the design principles approved at reserved matter stage. Council's Planning Department has considered the area plan context and all relevant plan policy guidance and advice in arriving at the opinion to approve. All advice from consultees has also been considered. Consultees are content subject to some conditions, and the proposals provide amendments which build upon and enhance the design of Block F and which are highly sustainable, suitable and appropriate for the site. Take this opportunity to thank the Planning Committee for the opportunity to speak, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Many thanks.
Thank you, Matthew. Okay, members, over to yourselves now. If you have any questions for Matthew, please. Is anybody online any questions for Matthew? I'm not seeing any indication, so thank you for attending for this one, Anna. Thank you. I think so, aye. But we'll do this one first and on. Yeah. Okay, members, anybody any questions for Rosie? Yes. Anybody online, any questions for Rosie? No, nobody indicating. So members, there's a recommendation there to approve this one, so pass it over to yourselves. If anybody has any comments or proposals to make? Councillor Murphy.
Chair, I'm happy to propose that we accept the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Can I have a seconder? Councillor Mooney. Thank you. Okay, has anybody any comments on that? Can I take it that that is unanimous? Yeah. Okay, so accepting that is unanimous and recommendation to approve has been proposed and seconded. And I'll move on to number 6 now. And Rosie's taking us through this one too.
Thank you, Chair. Item 6 is LA 11 2024-0029F. This is for 14 semi-independent living units, being a change of house type to blocks C, D and E, and the minor alteration to the internal road levels of the retirement development approved under LA 11 2020-0698 RM at the former Thornhill College on Culmore Road. The recommendation is to approve, and it's before members this afternoon as it's subject to Section 76 legal agreement. By way of background, the outline approval under A 2015-00710 was approved by the Planning Committee for a retirement village incorporating the retention of existing buildings at the site frontage for community uses, a 65 bed care home and 68 semi-independent living units in the form of apartments and dwellings. That development was also subject to a Section 76 legal agreement. There was subsequent reserved matters approval with a reduced level of accommodation providing 57 bed care home and 53 semi-independent living units. The overhead slide here shows that the site has been cleared of the former school buildings, with the buildings here at the roadside retained for the community uses. The design amendments that are proposed to blocks C, D and E, the rationale for those amendments have been advised to be that the over 55s require different levels of accommodation and types of accommodation from those who may be older. And the design amendments are in response to ensure that the market demands are met. Providing a range of living accommodation on the one site caters to the varying needs of individuals at different life stages, making the community more vibrant and adaptable. And clearing the site has revealed more made ground than originally anticipated, resulting in minor alterations to the road levels. And DFI Roads have been consulted and they're happy with what's proposed. The current application, as agreed today, will be also subject to a Section 76 legal agreement, which will permit occupation by persons over 55, their spouses and any dependent children. This is the site location map, just showing the locations of blocks C, D and E, and this is just block F that we heard in the previous item. And this slide just shows the layout in the top left there that was approved at reserved matter stage, forming 3 linear blocks. And what's now proposed there, shown in the bottom right, is a slight rotation to each of the blocks and a stepping of the frontages. So it gives more of a break up to the scale and massing of what's proposed. This just shows an indicative layout of that setback and stepping the rotation of each of the blocks. This is the general design of each of the approved blocks under the reserved matters application. And this is the design of what's proposed then front and rear for each of blocks C, D and E under the current application. This montage just gives a better indication again of what that will appear like on the site. So they're 2-story to the frontages, and the site drops away due to site topography, resulting in 3 stories to the rear. In terms of the accommodation that's proposed, there's now a basement level or lower ground floor level, which will provide kitchen utility areas, and it opens out onto the garden. And then there's a study area and formal living lounge or living room on the ground floor, and 3 bedrooms then in the first floor. So this slide just shows that at this particular part of the site, there's a bit more of a slope. So you've got the buildings that are retained to the frontage of the site. This middle block here is the apartments that are proposed under Block B. And then we have a cross section through Block C. So you can see there's 2 stories to the front, dropping away due to topography, with a basement level, and 3 stories to the rear. So again, given the rationale provided for the change in the accommodation that's proposed, officers are satisfied that the additional internal accommodation, which results in the change to the external appearance of Blocks C, D and E, remains acceptable, both in respect of the principle of the development to provide a retirement village and in terms of its visual impact. The policies that have been assessed are set out in detail in the planning report. And in terms of the consultations, you'll see they're summarised here that our consultees have no objection. And again, those responses are more detailed in the planning report. So in conclusion, officers consider that a quality residential environment has been achieved in accordance with PPS 7. Satisfactory infrastructure works are proposed in accordance with PPS 3. The impact on listed buildings and archaeology has been assessed in accordance with PPS 6 and found to be acceptable. And there's no impact arising on designated sites or priority or protected habitat as a result of the development. So PPS 2 is complied with. In respect of flood risk, PPS 15 is complied with and no impacts arise. Officers recommend approval subject to the conditions set out in the planning report. And we're also recommending the addition of a condition requiring a construction environmental management plan. We required this condition under item 5, and we consider that it should also be repeated on this current application. And we have discussed this with the rationale for this with the agent. So the condition would then read, no work shall commence on site until the appointed contractor submits a detailed final construction environmental management plan to the council for agreement. And the SEMP shall set out all the pollution prevention measures to be employed in the site and shall all be implemented in full, with the reason to avoid adverse environmental effects. Thank you, members.
Okay, thank you. Rosie, if I can invite Matthew back into the chamber again, please. Okay, Matthew has before 5 minutes to address the committee. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Again, really just if there's any questions in this one, I think the points made on the last one still apply. The rationale behind the changes in this just to provide a better range and variety of accommodation for the 55 and over demographic. Proposals provide amendments which build upon and enhance the previously approved design of Blocks C, D and E, which are highly sustainable, suitable and appropriate for the site. And if there's any specific questions on it, happy to take them and answer them.
Thank you. So any questions for the agent on this one? Is there anybody online, any questions? No, I'm not seeing any indication. Thank you for attending the day. Okay, members, is there any questions for Rosie? Anybody online? No, I'm not seeing any. So members, we have a recommendation to approve this one, and if I may pass it to yourselves again for any comment. Councillor Murphy.
For a moment, Chair. Again, I'm happy to propose that we accept the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Mooney. Thank you. So can I take it that everybody is in agreement with that one as well, please? proposal and seconder there to accept officer's recommendation? Yeah, thank you. Okay, then we're moving on to number 9. This is 54 Elamore Park in Gala, and Alana is taking us through this one.
Good afternoon, members. Item 9 on the agenda is an application for the retention of a domestic garage and shed and extension of the curtilage to the dwelling at 54 Elamore Park in Derry. The site is to the rear of the dwelling at 54 Elamore Park. It was formerly part of a green area between the houses and the parking area, but in recent years, a garage building has been constructed on it and over the public footpath. These are a couple of photographs of the garage, which the applicant is applying to retain along with the extension of the curtilage. Here we have the site plan and the floor plan of the garage building. It's shaded yellow on the site plan there, showing how it has extended the curtilage of the property. These are the elevation drawings and a photograph in the corner there showing the finishes, which are timber with a sheet metal roof. In terms of consultation responses, DFI Roads have no objections following an abandonment order being granted for the encroachment of the building onto the adopted public footpath. Environmental Health have no objections, subject to a condition restricting the use of the garage for domestic purposes only. There has been 3 letters of support received from 51, 52 and 55 Elamore Park, advising the garage has no impacts on the surrounding properties. It improves the look of the street and it has reduced antisocial behaviour in the alleyway. The policy context for assessing the application is the Derry Area Plan, the new Derry and Strabane Draft Plan Strategy, although limited weight has been afforded to it at this stage, the SPPS, PPS 8, PPS 7 and PPS 3. In terms of PPS 8, which deals with open space, policy OS1 operates a presumption against the loss of existing open space. The garage building has been constructed on an existing communal green area within Elamore Park. Such areas are defined as open space in Annex A of PPS 8. The development has therefore resulted in the loss of an area of existing open space contrary to policy OS1. The applicant argues policy OS1 is not applicable as the site has been used as an access, driveway and parking area for over 5 years and is therefore a lawful use. The images here show the southeastern half of the site may have been used for these purposes from around 2003. However, this was without the benefit of planning permission. The other half of the site remained as a grassed amenity area until the garage was constructed only in the last 3 or 4 years at some stage in 2021, as shown in these images. Policy OS1 does permit an exception where redevelopment will bring substantial community benefits that outweigh the loss of the open space. The applicant advises the garage provides secure parking for his car which has been damaged in the past, and he uses the garage for working on his vehicles and for storage. The redevelopment of the site as a private residential curtilage and a private domestic garage is not, however, considered a community benefit which would outweigh the loss of this area of open space. Therefore, the proposal is not considered an exception to policy OS1. PPS 7 Addendum and the Derry Area Plan provide the relevant policies for assessing the garage and the extended curtilage. Policy EXT1 requires the scale, massing, design and external materials of the proposal to be sympathetic with the built form and appearance of the existing property and to not detract from the appearance and character of the surrounding area. Policy BE1 of the Derry Area Plan requires development proposals to make a positive contribution to the townscape and be sensitive to the character of the area surrounding the site in terms of design, scale, and use of materials. The proposal has extended the residential curtilage of 54 Eelikmore Park by approximately 7 metres beyond its established curtilage. Prior to the construction of the garage, there was a uniform rear boundary to the 4 properties of 51 to 54 Eelikmore Park, which provided an established pattern of development. The extended curtilage and garage building detracts from the appearance and character of the area. The garage is finished in timber with a sheet metal roof. It's not similar in style or materials to the existing dwelling as required under policy EXT1, and its appearance is exacerbated by its prominence from the street, given its extension beyond the established curtilage. The extended curtilage and building are not sympathetic with the built form and appearance of the existing property, and they detract from the appearance and character of the surrounding area, contrary to criteria A of policy EXT1 of PPS 7 addendum, and contrary to policy BE1 of Derry Area Plan. The top image here demonstrates the prominence of the garage and the extended curtilage from the street. And the bottom image here shows the established curtilages of the dwellings shaded in blue, with the extension to number 5 shown in red, projecting beyond the established rear boundary line of 51 to 54. To assess the application further under EXT1, it meets criteria B, C, and D in terms of amenity, landscape features, and retaining domestic space for the dwelling. It also complies with PPS 3. The rear doors of the garage open onto the footpath, which has a drop curb to the communal parking area, and DFI roads have no objections following the grant of the abandonment order. Overall, the development would result in the loss of existing open space and is not sympathetic with the built form and appearance of the existing property. It detracts from the appearance and character of the surrounding area, and refusal is therefore recommended, contrary to policy OS1 of PPS 8 and contrary to policy EXT1 of PPS 7 addendum and policy BE1 of the Derry Area Plan. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Alana. Indicated Lee Kennedy agent. Is Lee online there?
Yeah, I'm here, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Lee. You have 5 minutes to address the planning committee now. And just before they come up to 5 minutes, I'll ask you to wrap up your comments. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman, members, for the opportunity to address the committee here today. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Charles and Alicia McGilloway to ask for your support and approval of this planning application. I understand this application has been refused for 2 reasons. 1, loss of existing open space, and 2, built form and character. To determine this application, it's important to understand the facts surrounding the erection of this shed. Firstly, it is important to acknowledge there are no objections to this application, and 3 letters of support have been received from numbers 51, 52 and 55 Eelikmore Park. The applicants confirm that number 54 Eelikmore Park has been their family home for the past 20 years. Since moving onto the property, they've become valued members of the local community and have great relationships with all residents in the surrounding area. The 3 residents who have expressed support to the planning department state that the shed has 0 negative impact on the properties and has in fact improved the look of the street. Additionally, the residents have noted a dramatic reduction in antisocial behaviour in the adjacent laneway since the erection of this shed, which is a significant community benefit. It is also important to stress that the shed was erected in 2021 as a result of antisocial activity and criminal damage being caused to the applicant's vehicles on several occasions. The family confirmed that over the years, residents have been tortured by youths gathering in the laneway outside their homes, causing noise, nuisance and disturbance. They also confirmed that the car was damaged in 2012, 2015 and 2019 on the subject lands to the rear of their home. At this time, all the surrounding residents were in contact with local councillors with a view of getting gates erected on the laneway, but it wasn't possible as the laneway provides primary access to several homes. However, the applicants were advised to contact the Northern Ireland Housing Executive in order to purchase the subject lands. They completed the purchase of the lands in 2021. They erected the shed not knowing that it required planning permission. They also confirmed that since the shed has been erected, It provides a safe space for the family vehicle and the antisocial activity has ceased, much to the benefit of all the residents in the community. Secondly, we dispute the planning department's assumption that this piece of land is in any way formal or informal open space. This land has been used by the McGilvray family since 2009 as a car parking space. This is evident from the attached Google image on page 8 of the Planning Committee report. In our supporting submission dated December 2024, we have provided a number of photographs showing vehicles parked on subject lands in 2012, 2017 and 2018. This indicates on the balance of probabilities an ongoing continuous use from 2009. Planning law is very clear and it's precise on this matter. If the use has been continuous for 5 or more years, it's immune from enforcement and therefore this land is legally a car parking space and not open space as suggested by the planning department. To suggest the design and build form of the shed impacts on the local character is a subjective assessment. I feel it's unsupported by any form of evidence. The shed has been constructed using close-boarded planks 2.4 metres high, similar to existing boundary treatments of existing housing, making it sympathetic to the character of the local area. The building form and the build form of the estate is no established pattern of character. The courtages of the houses are all stepped in or stepped out in no systematic form. The extension to the applicant's site curtilage is so indiscreet in the landscape there is no physical or visual impact on the character of the area. The subject building is located to the rear of number 54. It's subordinate in scale and seen against the build form, which consists of a terrace of 2-storey dwellings that absorbs the subject building into the surrounding landscape, having no adverse impact on the visual or physical amenity. In conclusion, the approval of the building sets no precedent due to the unique circumstances surrounding its erection, provides practical benefit to the applicant's family home, and it has resolved elements of antisocial activity and has received support from the local residents. Thank you for your time. We'll answer any questions.
Thank you for that, Lee. Okay, members, has anybody any questions for Lee Kennedy, please? Is anybody online any questions? I'm not seeing any indicators, speaker, so thanks very much for attending.
Sorry, Chair. I was trying to indicate to come on there. Chair, just the one for Lee, just if I could.
Go ahead.
Lee, you mentioned continuous use over well and above and over the 5-year period. Could you enlighten me a little bit more in relation to that, Lee, please?
Yeah, the subject land to the rear of number 54 has been laid out as a car parking space from 2009 for the applicant's family. That's where they have parked their car on that space since that date. In terms of the 5-year rule, I believe that use has been continuous, and I believe that on our submission that we provided to the planning department in December, we indicate that that has been ongoing since 2009 up until the shed was erected. And therefore, the land is actually a car parking space and not formal or informal open space.
Councillor Boyd.
Yep, thanks for that clarity, Chair. Thank you, Lee.
Okay, just double checking. Anybody else online there? Is there any questions for Lee? No, thanks again, Lee. So over to any questions for Alana, please. Councillor Gallagher.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering, was there any consideration given to, when we look at figure 5 and figure 6, health and safety? And what I mean by health and safety is figure 6 looks more safe than image 5 if vehicles were traveling through image 5. And I would imagine like there's small children run around that built-up area. That figure 6 looks to me a whole lot safer for young people, children in particular.
Thank you, Alana. Back on that.
Well, when the shed was constructed, it was constructed over the public footpath. So there was a requirement there by road service then to have that part of the footpath abandoned. But you will see maybe from figure 6 there now that the footpath has been extended around that shed now. So there is a footpath around, as far as I'm aware, 3 boundaries of that shed. So there shouldn't be any issue with impact in terms of road safety.
Councillor Gallagher, is that okay? Anybody, any questions for Land online there? No. Okay, members, so there's a recommendation there, and I'll hand it over to yourselves if you have any proposal. Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Alana, for the report. I'm going to make a proposal that we overturn the recommendation. I'm going to go through the refusal reasons, both refusal reasons.
Okay, yes, please do that.
Do I need a seconder first?
Yep, you know, the second, Councillor Devine there. If you can just take each of the reasons, please.
Okay. Refusal reason 1, PPS 8, and it says that it would result in the loss of existing open space, but this was never usable open space. At this specific site, it was unused, and it was a gathering spot for antisocial activity. The loss of the space has no discernible effect on neighbours who are supportive of the shed being where it is. Refusal reason 2, PPS 7, and I'll just quote, the appearance of the existing property and detracts from the appearance and character of the surrounding area. But looking at the photos, the shed is made from wooden boards and it's in keeping with neighbouring fences. And in this particular instance, at this particular site, it doesn't seem to detract from the appearance and character of the particular area. And I would reference figure 6, where you can see that neighbouring sheds neighbouring fences are constructed of the same type of material, wooden fencing. Thank you.
Sure. Councillor Minnie.
Thank you, Chair. I know Councillor Murphy has signalled his reasons and it's been seconded, but I do agree just to share, because really, in my mind, this is a sort of academic application. The shed's up now, and it's been in situ for a long time. And really, I think Councillor Murphy has put the nail on the head, and I suppose in the refusal reason number 2, and that obviously the fence is up, but it actually assimilates along with the other fence lines in the area. So in my mind, there is no detraction from any appearance or the character surrounding the area. In fact, in some sort of unusual way, it kind of fits in with the actual character of the area. And number 2, and refusal reason number 1, I do agree. There's been no real detraction of loss of existing open space given the current use of the land now, and also the other effects of the pathway being built around it by DFA and things like that. So really, it's an academic exercise. You understand why the officer brought it, but really, I do agree with Councillor Murphy's view on this here, and I will be supporting his recommendation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Minnie. Alderman Montgomery.
Thanks, Chair. I just would like to abstain for missing part of the presentation, if that's okay.
Thank you. Members, we have a proposal and that's been seconded there to overturn the officer's recommendation.
Chair, sorry, got my hand up there, Chair.
Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies. At the risk of repeating what others have said, I'm fully supportive of Councillor Murphy's proposal. That's the first thing I wanted to say. I would also argue, actually, that refusal reason number 1 in relation to OS1, and perhaps the consideration that in relation to, it has to be of substantial community benefit. Representations have been made to this committee, I think it would be unreasonable to refuse on the basis of that, and that the representations that we have received, and I have no reason to disbelieve them, are that it has seen a significant reduction. In fact, perhaps even a complete turnaround in relation to antisocial behaviour. One could imagine, if you look at it that way, then that's a substantial community benefit. Surely it is. And as for reason number 2, as already stated by Councillor Murphy and Councillor Mooney, I think that's a subjective view on this, and I really don't think that would be a reasonable way to overturn it either. And not only that, having had the answer from Mr. Kennedy in terms of its continual use anyway as a space which was being used as a park and bay, I can't see any reason why we should be refusing this, Chair. So again, I'm fully supportive of the proposal. Thank you.
Thanks for your comments here, Councillor Boyle. So we have a proposal and a seconder, and because we've indicated that one of an abstention, I'm going to go to a vote on this, please.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Members, this is LA 11 2024-0405F. Alderman Keith Kerrigan.
Abstain, Suzanne.
Alderman Ray McMorris is not here. Alderman Janice Montgomery.
Abstain.
Councillor John Boyle.
For.
Councillor Caroline Devine. Councillor Sean Fleming. Councillor Paul Gallagher.
For.
Councillor Christopher Jackson.
Ta.
Councillor Fergal Leonard.
Ta.
Councillor Patricia Logue. Councillor Patricia Logue. Come back. Councillor Sean Mooney. Councillor Patrick Murphy.
Or Chair, sorry about that.
Thanks, Patricia. Councillor Patrick Murphy. Yep.
Yeah.
Councillor Martin Riley.
Or.
And Councillor Grace O'Neill. Thank you.
Okay, members, so 11 for and 2 abstentions. So the proposal to overturn the officer's recommendation has been approved. Members, it's 4 o'clock. No, we're due for a break. We'll take a break for 5 minutes, or we'll just keep going on. Just keep going. No bother. Okay then. Agenda item number 9. It's a request for 3 works in Centre Deanfield and Limavady Road, and John is going to do this.
That's on. Okay, thank you. Okay, yes. So this is a report to do with a TPO works request at the nursing home at 19 Deanfield, Limavady Road, and the request is to fell a tree that is subject to a TPO, and it's a horse chestnut. So it's quite large, 14 metres in height. And at the time the TPO was made in 2022, it was considered to be a reasonably healthy tree, although it's over mature, as it was described in the report. Remedial works were recommended in the independent tree survey at that time, which was a complete prune of the tree, crown reduction, crown lift. And there was also an overhanging portion of the tree over the road, which needed addressed. Also in the TPO, there's 5 sycamores, a semi-mature common beech, and an early mature ash tree. So it's quite a small TPO, and this is the biggest tree within it. After the TPO was made, a request was submitted to the council in July 2023 to carry out remedial works to the horse chestnut, and that's as was recommended in the tree report that we had commissioned. And so those works were granted consent, and but they were never carried out. When the applicants invited a tree surgeon to come to the site and review the tree for carrying out the works. They recommended actually that the tree should be felled because they considered there was quite a lot of evidence that it had deteriorated in the 2.5 years since the original report was done. You'll see in the report, it's at the sort of junction of 3 driveways. It's right at the entrance of the nursing home, and yeah, the tree surgeon set out what the new problems are that they considered it had got worse, and there was some voids in the tree, some signs of decay and impact damage. It's been hit several times by delivery vehicles because of its position. So this did sound like something that might be a deterioration of the tree, but it was a bit unclear because a lot of the things sounded like things that had been flagged up in the original tree report 2.5 years earlier. So we actually commissioned a further arboricultural survey, and Andy Bow came and did a site visit and a new report. And he actually confirmed the recommendation for felling the tree. And there's a copy of the report in your appendices of the report. And so it was to do with concerns about deterioration to the tree, its position, the fact that it's been hit by delivery vehicles several times, and the roots are covered by tarmac, and that it's likely to deteriorate further. And there's a significant limb of the tree hanging over the road, which also has signs of internal decay. And so the tree is in quite poor condition now. It has deteriorated quite a lot, and its stability and overall health is compromised. So the recommendation by Mr. Bow was that further deterioration was to be expected and for the tree to be felled. So members are requested to note the contents of the independent tree reports, to note the contents of this report, and to agree to the officer's recommendation, which is that the TPL works request to fell the tree be granted.
Okay, thanks, John. Does anybody any comments that would wish to forward on that? Anybody online? Councillor Jackson, go ahead.
No, Chair, it is disappointing. They see the report, and it's disappointing. They see the deterioration of the tree, but I fully accept the credentials of the professional report that's in front of us, and on that basis, I have no issue proposing that we accept the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Mooney, thank you. For a proposal and a seconder there to accept officer recommendations. Everybody content enough with that? Yes, thank you. John, we'll move on to number 10 now. John's taking us through this one again.
Okay, thank you, Chair. So item 10 is to do with a public consultation on a proposed private members bill to which it was hoped, it is hoped by the proposers that it would improve tree protections in Northern Ireland, and we've been invited to comment. So officers have reviewed it. Members are requested to agree to the responses to the survey, which we've actually put in the report. In summary, it's not considered that the proposals would offer additional protection compared to the protections already provided by TPOs, conservation areas, which also protect trees, and also planning conditions. So also any changes to the current TPO mechanisms would require legislative changes, and also additional requirements in terms of staff resources. So public consultation is ongoing until tomorrow, but we actually have a bit longer to comment. And we have set out in the report our proposed response. So it was proposed by Peter McReynolds, MLA, and the idea was that it would strengthen legal protections for our oldest and most significant trees, as well as ancient and long established woodlands. We set out in the report the main areas it covers, so that's TPOs, to strengthen them, to protect the oldest and most significant trees by creating a new heritage tree designation, and safeguard ancient and long established woodlands from building developments and new infrastructure. It was proposed to add a new criteria for TPOs to consider ecosystem services. So that's things like flood alleviation, shade, clean air. But we have set out in the report that we consider that that's already something that we can consider in the existing TPO protections. And there's a proposed change to the law to make it an offence to cause or permit the breach of a TPO. But actually that's already covered by some existing legislation. And there was a proposed requirement to require people to plant a suitable tree if they are removing a tree. But that is already something that we can require and frequently do. Just seeing if there's anything else to flag up. I think that's probably enough because you will have seen the report and the main points really. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, John. Has everybody had enough time to read through the report and the consultation? Yeah. Anybody wish to make any comments? Councillor Jackson.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, John, for the report. And I suppose at first glance, I have no issue with the response, but it does seem strange. Like we've literally just the previous item, there was an application to fell a protected tree, and because it deteriorated significantly, and in this response we have indicated that there's adequate enforcement powers, or and it does seem a bit strange because we've seen how a TPO on the site at Deanfield didn't protect the tree adequately. It has deteriorated, and there doesn't seem to be any real incentive for the landowner to be taking measures to protect the tree. So I just wouldn't mind a wee bit more around how how the powers that are currently existing in legislation are adequate, and if you don't mind, John, just how they weren't applied on the example that were given in relation to the previous item. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Christopher. Go ahead, John.
Okay, I'll try and answer that. So I think there's probably a distinction to be made between when a tree deteriorates because of negligence or something, or when it deteriorates because of some other factor. And I think the previous item was about a tree that is in the first point to make is it's in a difficult position. That's where the tree was, but because of the development that's grown up around it, there's a lot of driveways and tight manoeuvring space. It's at the end of a cul-de-sac. So that's the first thing to mention. And also, trees do deteriorate over time, particularly certain species as they mature. So in that example, it was a horse chestnut tree, and they can be prone to storm damage and that can cause, damage to the tree naturally over time. And you can also get diseases and fungus, and in that example, that was something that happened as well. So that's part of the answer. And the other part of it is, how do existing controls deal with that? So people already have to apply for consent to fell a tree if it's protected. So if it has a TPO or if it's in a conservation area, and that gives us an opportunity to look at the, evidence provided. So we wouldn't agree to that unless it was demonstrated that the tree, was in poor health and needed to be felled for safety or for the health of the tree. So that gives us an opportunity to review it in detail. And if we're not satisfied with the information in the application, we can get our own independent arboricultural advice, which is what we did in the previous example. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, John, for that.
Any further questions? Just checking online if there's anybody wants to make any comments.
Chair, it's Councillor Riley here. Just to thank the officers for that report and to flag that both myself and Councillor Deeney represent council on the all-party group on climate change. This private members bill was the subject of the latest APG meeting up there on Friday. So welcome the report that's here before us and the fact that we'll be responding into the private members bill consultation. So happy to propose the response, Chair, if needed. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Councillor Riley. On your proposal, can I have a seconder, please? Alderman Montgomery, second that. Thank you. So moving on to agenda items 11 and 12, list of decisions and appeals update. Has anybody any questions or comments they want to make on 11 and 12? Anybody online? Okay, members, that brings us to the end of the meeting today. Thanks everybody for their participation and safe home to you all. Thank you.